Vajra Sattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Tishta Jidro Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anurakto Me Bawa Sarva Siddhi Me Prayatsam Sarva Karma Sutsame Siyatam Shriyayam Guru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra Mame Munsa Vajra Bhava Maha Samaya Sattva Ahom Pe Ho Shude Shude Svoha Yam Ho Shude Shude Svoha Ram Ho Shude Shude Svoha Lam Ho Shude Shude Svoha Bam Ho Shude Shude Svoha Eyam Ram Lam Bam Shude Shude Soha Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Soha Ye Dharma Hetun Prabhava Hetun Teshan Tathagato Yawa Data Teshan Chayo Niroda Evam Vadi Mahashramanaye Svoha Onchanam Tamche Gyule Jung Tegyu Deshin Shekpe Sun Gyula Gopa Kaimba Gechon Chembu Deke Sun Gechon Chembu Jingilo Gechon Chembu Ngodrup Sol Gechon Chembu Trashishon Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Gi Rola Pinchira Sangye Drupa Resho Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Gi Drola Pinchira Sangye Drupa Resho Sangye Chodan Tsogi Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Gi Drola Pinchira Sangye Drupa Resho. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I would like today to go through question number 42 and 43. And there is one special point here that we didn't go through yesterday. So it says, Shenyang, Tony Gomba Laname, Che Sumbe Gomgyu Tomba Nite Kains, Kanto Ya Madruba Te Yinyam Nas, Kanto Ya Madruba Gombe Drebu, Drebu Yang, Kanto Yang, Madruba Shikle, Mebes, Tendre Gomte, Lana Meba Mayinos, Onte, Tomba Nigi Tenteni, Kanto Ya Mimipa Teka, Yino Nyamnas, Ona, Kanto Ya Mimipa Tente Kain, Kanlayang, Namdomi Jukpa Te Yin Nyamnas. So 42 and 43. What is the emptiness to meditate on when a text says, meditation on emptiness is peerless? Hypothetical disputant thinks, it is that which is not established anywhere. Hypothetical and indirect rebuttal from our own system says, if you think that, the result of meditating on that which is not established anywhere also cannot be other than that which does not exist anywhere. Therefore, that meditation is the highest one. Another optional answer from the hypothetical disputant thinking. Or, if not, the meaning of that emptiness is that which is unobservable anywhere. Question 43. Then, what is the meaning of unobservable? Hypothetical disputant thinks it means not engaging anywhere in conception. So, here actually it brings us to one aspect which is quite important. In different texts, it's talking about emptiness being non-observable. It's something that is beyond words and is non-observable. So when we talk about being non-observable, it comes to the doubt that say, okay, this means that it doesn't exist. Something that cannot be seen means that it doesn't exist. So this is where here the question is bringing other points of view, which we are not entering into details now. But the question mainly is like, okay, so what is the meaning of something that cannot be perceived, something that cannot be seen, something that is unobservable? What does that mean? Let's try to understand it. Yesterday we saw that phenomena do not exist in an inherently existing way. Phenomena only exist as being interdependent, as depending on the observer. So, for example, we took the example of the singing bowl, no? And we say, this object, how many things can it be at the same time? It's a bell, it is a salad bowl, it is a place to put water for the dog. What can it be? A weapon to hit, maybe a hat. No? It can be an object to make fun and make distraction for people, you know, put on the head. We can make so many different things we can make out of it, okay? So the point is that it's not that it can exist, we can use it in different ways also. But the point is that this object exists at the same time with infinite possibilities. And when we give a name, we choose one of these possibilities. Okay? So, what happened is that even though we intellectually can understand, conceptually we can understand, when we look at a book and we say, okay, what is the book? And we check, where is the book? Conceptually we can understand that the book actually is only a name, book. Name always brings within it characteristics and functions, but it's only a name that we attribute to one collection of parts. That's what we do. So if we really analyze where is the book, what is the book, and we try to grasp at the book, is it the pages? No. The fact that I have many pages together, is that enough to have a book? No. With a cover, a nice binding, is that enough to have a book? Actually not. It's like one interesting example, one experiment that was done in the Amazon forest. They took one place where there were the native Indians that had never contact with outside communities and other cultures. And they put one chair. And the Indians could not see the chair. Not see it. For them, the chair, as they were looking to, would walk through. Sure, I make another Albagnano some years together with my mom's wood. When I look around, but about the whole nature, you can see here is in the light that was into his eye. Didn't have a name. No. So I just see a bunch for it. When someone starts showing me the name and giving characteristics and functions, I start saying, wow. For example, remember there was one plant, which we have a lot here, which this plant only grows where there is a lot of water. And in the specific place where this plant grows, if you look well, you will always see most of the times on the trees where this plant grows, there has been a lightning. Because the lightning comes where there is a lot of water in the ground. So he showed this to me and I start observing, and then I start seeing things I never saw before. But was the light reflecting on these plants, was it coming to my eyes or not? Sure. But why couldn't I see it? Because I didn't have a name for it. Okay. So reality only comes for us in the moment that we actually name it. Otherwise, it's just forms and colors and shapes, and we don't have an understanding. It's like if I take, for example, two objects, okay, and if someone is an expert on that, he will know how to say the difference between one and the other. If you take someone that has just a very rough idea about that subject, we'll look at the two things and we'll say, I see no difference between them. Are the images appearing to the eyes? Yes, but we have no name, no value to attribute to it. That's the main difference. I think this is quite clear, right? So now, what happened is that in the moment we start looking at the book, and we say, what is the book? What is this object? And we end up understanding that this object is nothing more, nothing less than a name, attributed at a collection of parts, which we call book. Then I take one of the parts, the page, one page, and I start to analyze what is a page. And what is the conclusion? A page is nothing more, nothing less than the name page. Remember that name always brings within it characteristics and functions, which is a name attributed at a collection of parts. And like this I can go on and on and on. And I take a little letter. There is a little letter number 4 here on the beginning of the page. And I go and I look, what is the number 4? The number 4 is nothing more, nothing less than a name for attributed at a collection of parts. You know? It's so crazy. Even numbers are like this. Because some people think that mathematics is absolute, no? What is number 1? What is 1? 1 is a collection of parts to which we attribute the concept of 1. Because it is still divisible. Okay? It is like, even in mathematics, it's just because we choose that parts represent a concept of a unity. That's why it's 1. But it's just one concept attributed at a collection of parts. Okay? One person, one this, one that. Anyhow, it's a concept that we attribute to a collection of parts as a unity. Anyhow, the point that we need to understand here, why it is unobservable. Basically, because in the moment that I look at the book and I start seeing it, and I say, okay, but how does the book actually exist? And I understand that the book does not exist out of its own characteristics as a book. It's just a bunch of parts put together to which I attribute a name. But when I understand that the object, in this case the book, lacks inherent existence, it appears to me as being of inherent existence, as existing by its own characteristics, as existing in an objective way by itself. But I understand that it's not like that. I am not able at this moment, until I reach enlightenment, to put together in a non-conceptual way, in an experimental way, in a direct experience, to put together the fact of book and lack of inherent existence. Because inevitably the book appears to me as existing as being inherent, as existing by its own self. So in the moment I take out inherent existence, inevitably for me I take out the book. I'm not able to have the two things together. So emptiness is unobservable from the conditioned mind that grasps at reality as being inherent, and that reality appears as being inherent. And on the other side, that once we realize directly the lack of inherent existence, which means emptiness, at the same instant we are not able right now to perceive at the same time reality, relative reality. So we are not able to see at the same time in a non-conceptual level. In a conceptual level, yes, but in a non-conceptual level, we are not able to perceive at the same time the book and the lack of inherent existence of the book. Or one or the other. Why? Because the book still appears to us as being of inherent existence. And when we take that out, we take the book out. We are not able to have the two things together. And this is one of the reasons why in the beginning, when people start meditating and realizing emptiness, it generates fear of things not existing at all. Because we are not able to put the two things together. It's not that they don't exist, it's simply we are not able to have the two concepts together in a non-conceptual way. The two perceptions together. We are not able to do that. That's what is a Buddha. A Buddha is the one for whom there is no more difference between relative and absolute truth. They are all one. We make the difference. We are not able to put the two things together. Or I see the lack of inherent existence, or I see the book. I'm not able to put the two things together, the book and its lack of inherent existence. Why? Because inevitably, out of my conditioned mind of ignorance, it appears to me as being of inherent existence. And the moment I take that out, I take the book out. And I'm not able to put the two things together. It's like yesterday we used one term that is not used normally in Buddhism, it's used mostly in quantum physics, which talks about that at every instant there are infinite possibilities, and the observer is the one that chooses one of these possibilities. Okay? So what happened is that we are not aware that there are infinite possibilities at the very right moment. Let's think about ourselves. What am I? What is Lama Michel? Lama Michel is nothing more, nothing less than a name attributed at a collection of parts. What are these parts? Body and mind. And like this we go to infinite. But if we look from the perspective that at this very right moment, at this collection of parts of body and mind, how many possibilities lie within at this very right moment? Infinite. If not infinite, countless possibilities lies at this very right moment. When we look at anything, when we take this object that we call book, how many possibilities lie within it at this very right moment? Countless. So when we look at myself, there are countless possibilities at this very right instant. But I end up choosing one. And I think that's their reality. I'm not aware that that's one possibility that I choose to relate with. But in the moment that we understand that there are countless possibilities at the same time, And they are all valid. We are not able anymore to connect with one and know at the same time that there are countless. It doesn't fit in our mind because our way of direct perception is that it's not that it's a show that we choose one possibility. That's the reality. We may say, okay, there may be alternative ways of looking at it, but that's what it is. That's our ignorant mind. So now we are not able to put the two things together. That's why it is unobservable. Emptiness is unobservable from the mind that has the condition is conditioned with the grasping and the appearance of inherent existence. On the other side, the mind that realizes in the lack of inherent existence, that realizes emptiness, is not able, until Buddhahood, when we reach Buddhahood is different, but until then, is not able to perceive relative reality. That's why we call it unobservable also at the same time. Okay? So this is a very important point. I think we got it quite clear. Okay? So, let's move on. But these are things that we need to reflect again and again. It's not obvious at all. And then there is a certain point where we simply get it, and it's like, wow. And then we forget. Then we need to go again and again, and then suddenly we get it again, and we say, wow. And then we forget. Then we need to do it again and again and again and again until it remains with us constantly. Okay? But if we're able to understand the fact that when we have a direct realization of emptiness, we are not able to perceive relative reality at the same time, we start to understand better how our mind of ignorance functions. And we start to understand better what's the meaning of a Buddha. Because a Buddha is the one that is able to put the two things together. Okay? So, we go now to answer 41, 42, and 43. Jinye chena malupa dembe ranshin tang chalwa gomgyu samo tongni ins. However many phenomena there are, without exception, are free of inherent existence. That is the profound emptiness to meditate upon. The word in Tibetan, more than inherent existence, is here said true existence. Dimperashindan chalwas. But it can also be translated as inherent existence, is maybe more clear. But it's also used the term more correctly. Translation is the term true existence. So, which means it doesn't matter how many phenomena exist, that without any exception, anything lacks inherent existence. When we say lacks true existence, means it doesn't exist as it appears to us with our conventional mind. Okay? So, we have seen this yesterday and a little bit today also already. And as it says, that is the profound emptiness to meditate upon. So what do we need to familiarize our mind with? With the lack of inherent existence, with the lack of objective existence. We can use different terms to say the same thing. We can talk about objective existence, inherent existence, the fact that phenomena do not exist inherently, objectively, by its own characteristics, by its own self, independently of everything else. Okay? So, why it is so important to understand the lack of inherent existence? Because maybe it would be enough, no, to understand the fact that everything is interdependent. In other words, making it maybe a little bit more simple, we could say, okay, reality appears to us as if it was objective. But actually, we live in a subjective reality. Would it be enough to understand that reality is subjective? No. Okay. Actually, okay, what is our ignorance? Our ignorance is that we grasp at the subjective reality as if it was objective. That's our ignorance. Okay? So our ignorance is the fact that even though our reality is subjective, it appears to us and we believe that it is objective. Okay? So, in one way, what do we need to realize? We need to realize that subjective reality is subjective. In other words, that we live in a subjective reality. But the main problem is that our mind functions in a way that the only way to eliminate a specific thought, a specific state of mind, is by generating the state of mind that is directly opposite to it, that it has a direct opposite mode of apprehension. So, in the moment that I have the mind that grasps at reality as being of inherent existence, as being of objective existence, the only way for me to eliminate that mind is to realize the lack of objective existence. Because our problem is not that we see reality and we look at things and we say, oh, it is not subjective. The problem is that it appears to us as being objective. It's not that we look to reality and it appears to us as not being interdependent. It appears to us as being of inherent existence, which are, we can say the same thing, but it's different, the way of perception. So, in order for me to eliminate the mind that grasps at inherent existence, that grasps at reality as being of objective reality, I need to realize the lack of objective reality. That's the goal. That's what we need to realize. So basically, the logic is, let's take, for instance, any phenomena. Let's take the book, as we use it today as an example. The book lacks objective reality because it is subjective. The book lacks inherent existence. Why? Because it is interdependent. That's the logic that we follow. But the mind that we need to eliminate is the grasping at inherent existence, the grasping at objective existence. So we need to realize that reality, or the book, whatever, lacks, it's empty of objective reality. It's empty of intrinsic reality. So that's why everything is of the nature of emptiness, is empty of inherent existence. Okay? So, this is important for us to understand, because otherwise we may think, okay, why is it not enough to understand interdependence? Why is it not enough just to understand that phenomena are subjective? Is it necessary? Yes, but it's not enough. Because our ignorance is not the mind that doesn't see the subjectiveness or doesn't see interdependence. Our mind is ignorance is the mind that grasps at objective reality, grasps at inherent existence. That's why we need emptiness, the lack of inherent existence, the lack of objective existence. That's why we need to go to the negation, because we need to take away an affirmation. Our ignorance is an affirmation, it's not a negation. Our ignorance is the mind that affirms inherent existence, affirms objective existence. So we need to negate that state. That's why we need to generate emptiness in order to eliminate that mind. Okay? And there was a question about even if time is relative. Time is one of the most relative things that there are. If we can, actually everything is relative in the same way, but it's one of the most simple things to see how relative it is. I had two experiences which were very clear of the relativity of time. Sure, okay, Einstein used to say, if when you are in a moment of pleasure, time goes fast. When you're in a moment of difficulty, time goes slowly. But he used to make an example, that's his personal example, but he used to say, when I am with a beautiful woman, time goes by fast. When I am with an ugly woman, time takes long to pass. You know, that was Einstein's own words. But the point is that time is totally relative. And I had two experiences, which was like non-conceptual experiences of relativity of time. Which one was here in Albagnano, we were doing fire puja. And then I had the dorje in the hand with the bell also in the other hand. And then you need to throw the substances on the fire. And then one moment, the dorjes went off from my hand. And it really is something that is not supposed to happen, that the dorje falls on the fire. So the dorje went off. And then suddenly, everything became like in slow motion. And I start seeing in front of me, I remember quite clear, the dorje was doing like this, in front of the fire. And I had all the time, with all the calm, to say, okay, the dorje escaped from my hand. It went off. It is on top of the fire. I need to catch it. Let's look at it. It took and everything around, the sounds, everything around was like in slow motion. And the focus was only on the dorje with the fire. And then when I said I need to catch it, I put the intention to direct my hand. And then I went to catch it, and the time went back like to normal. And then I had it on my hand. Another time I was in India some years ago, 2010, something like that. And then I was in one sort of a park. And then suddenly I was sitting on a stone, and then suddenly under a tree, and then suddenly again time went like slow motion. And the sounds were all in slow motion, like slowly. And I started listening to the sound of something breaking. It was like crack, 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 very slowly. And I understood that one of the branches of the tree was breaking above me. But I had the whole time to say, the branch is breaking. I should not stay here. It is not safe. So better I jump. In the moment that I jumped off, and I did quite a big jump, the branch, which was quite big, it fell exactly where I was. Boom. No? And the people around me were looking, like my mom was there. And they would look and say, wow, how come you knew it, It was like, I say, this we can call protection, whatever name we like to give to it. But the only fact was that for me was like two non-conceptual experiences of the relativity of time. And then I have a friend, he's a professional surfer. And then it happened to him like he almost died 5 times. Because he likes to take these waves that are like 20 meters high, whatever. And then it happened a few times that he went down and he stayed more than 5-6 minutes underwater, turning around. And then I think 3 times they needed to resuscitate, reanimate him. And he saw the whole movie of his life going through. So for him, was it a short or was it long? His experience was long. But externally, how many seconds did it go? Not so many. So, this is just 2 examples that time is totally relative. Time depends on the observer. This is very clear, If you take 1 hour by a Swiss or by a British or by a Tibetan or a Brazilian or whatever culture, it's different also the way how you experience it. Depending on time, on culture, so many things. So everything depends on the observer. There's nothing. The only objective reality is the lack of objective reality. The only thing that exists objectively is that everything is subjective. Okay? Okay, we go a little bit through this next question, number 44, and answer 44. It says, Ona, korsu mimikpe jimpa tona chitarche, jimpa poda, jimpe yuda, jimpe ngowo sumla, namdo shunani, mikche gi jimpar, drawer Douglas, te sumjarla, namdo mashukparni, sosor kiwu, jimpa ton mi shebe sos. Vente, sumjarla dempar mi zimpar, jimpa tonwa te, korsum yonda ki jimpa yino nyamnas. Question 44. Then, how should one practice the generosity of the 3 unobservable circles or factors? Which basically it says then, because okay, now we understood what is emptiness. So how can we apply emptiness in generosity? That's the question. So, how should we one practice the generosity of the three unobservable factors, or the three unobservable circles? Remember, unobservable means it cannot be seen by the mind of ignorance that grasps at inherent existence. Okay? Because if conception is involved in the three entities of generosity, the three entities or the three circles or the three factors of generosity are the giver, to whom the object is given, and the entity of giving. So, I have myself that I'm giving, the one that is receiving, and the food that I am giving, and the actual act of giving itself. Okay, the actual entity of giving. The entity of giving, it comes within it, the actual act of giving and the object of giving together. Okay, so if I come and I give my mala, or I give love, or I give attention, I can give many things. It's not material thing only. There is the one that gives, there is the one that receives, and then there is the actual entity of giving. Okay? So these are the three aspects that, which are called the three circles. Perception is in, it becomes three of them would how to practice observable generosity. That none any conceptual. If it, how can make an act of them as true purity? What does that mean? Of the three unobservable, or the pure way of making the act of generosity means to act with, to offer, having the total awareness, without apprehending that the one that is giving, the one that is receiving, and the entity of giving, without apprehending it as being of inherent existence. Okay? But this is only possible for a Buddha. What did we see before, in the question just before? That now, in the moment that we take away the apprehension and the appearance of inherent existence, we take away the object. We are not able to do the two things together. So what's the right way of meditating? Or actually, what's the right way of practicing generosity? With the awareness within the awareness of emptiness, which is called the generosity with the three circles, with the three unobservable circles. And the answer that Panchen Losang Gyaltsen gives us is the following. Jimpe korsum demetu, tokpe sherab gi simpe, jimpa korsum yonda la. A generosity accompanied by a wisdom which realizes the three factors of generosity as non-truly existent has the three factors entirely purely. Which means, Jimpe korsum demetu tope sherabgi simpes, when here it says that accompanied by, it means that first we generate the wisdom that realizes the lack of inherent existence of the one that is offering, of the one that is receiving the offering, and of the actual entity of giving of the offering itself. First, there is the realization of the lack of inherent existence. And that after that realization within, it's like the continuity of that realization then is made the act of giving. So during the moment of the act of giving, there is no direct realization of the emptiness of the three circles. This is not possible, only for a Buddha. For us, we are not able to have a direct experience of the emptiness of the giver, the one receiving, and the actual entity of giving. While giving, we are not capable of that. Okay? So, how do we need to do? First, we meditate and we realize the emptiness of the three circles. And then when we get out of that state of meditation, we have the continuity of that realization in which we still have the appearance of inherent existence, but we do not have the grasping anymore at it. So we have the awareness that the one giving is empty of inherent existence, that the one receiving is empty of inherent existence, that the actual entity of giving is empty of inherent existence, because we meditated before on it. Okay? Because normally when we give, how does it work? I'm just making one possible example. I am the generous guy inherently existent. You are the poor guy inherently existent, inherently poor. And this is the inherently pure action and good thing good deed that I'm doing towards you. Okay? Can we become upset if someone doesn't see our action as a good action? Can we become upset if the one that is the one supposed to receive does not receive in the way how we think he should receive? Can we become upset if the other one is not recognizing us as the most generous guy in the world? In other words, can we become upset if the people around us do not see the reality of the giver, the one receiving, and the actual act of giving in the same way that we see? Can we become upset of that? Not we can, we become upset because of that. Okay? So, here again, I am giving, but I am not inherently existent. So, I am giving, and what does it mean to be a giver? I am attributing a value to it, but doesn't mean that I do not exist in that way. So I am interdependent on that, and I can exist in this same act of giving. There are infinite possibilities, and I am choosing one, and you are choosing another, and that's how things are, and it's fine. You are the one receiving, and I see you in one way. I choose one existence for you by the name that I attribute to you. But you choose another. And another person, will choose another. And that's how things are. The actual act of giving, I give in a way. I attribute a value, you attribute another value. And that's how things are. It's like one day I went to help one lady, many years ago, to carry her bag on the train. I was in Milan, coming to Verbania by train. And then I always used to get in the last minute on the train. So I like to calculate how many minutes it took from Kumpela Maganchen to the actual train. And then I would just check the minute, on the last minute I will go. And I will always catch like in the last minute. And one day I was about to enter the train in the last minute, and there was a lady. And she had many bags, and she had a difficulty because the train was about to leave and her bags were down. So I helped to bring the bags up. But she was very upset with me, because I didn't ask permission, whatever. And she was on the train, I was on the platform, and then when I took her bag, maybe she thought I wanted to steal it or whatever. So when I put up, she had a shock, and she was like, she had a bad reaction towards me. Okay? I thought I was being the nice guy, inherently nice, and I was doing an inherently existing nice action. And she was the inherently existing person being helped. But she saw it differently. But I become upset. Why? Because I am the one giving. I am doing something good for you. You are the one receiving. And that's the actual truth. Okay? So we need to give, being aware that I, as a giver, is just one way of seeing reality. It's one choice of infinite possibilities. And you are not going to see me like that, because you have a different name that you attribute to me. You may look to me and you may think that I want to take advantage. Why? Because that's the value that you are attributing to it. I attribute another value. And that's all fine. So, can we see how precious it is to be able to give without grasping at it as being of inherent existence? The three parts. How much suffering we have related to that? Because I give to you, you do not recognize me enough, so you do not see. I did an incredible, special act towards you. So it is inherently existing, good and wonderful, and you should recognize it in the same way as I do. And you don't. So you are wrong and I am right. How much conflict and suffering? The point is that we need to sit down in our daily practice. We need to meditate. We need to meditate on the emptiness of the 3 circles of generosity within meditation first. Even when we do it mentally. Then we create habit, we create familiarity with it, and then in our daily life we will be more aware of that. Okay? So just to conclude, one thing I added in Italian is that it's so important to have the realization of emptiness. Not only, generally speaking, phenomena lack inherent existence. In every practical aspect, realizing emptiness is important to eliminate our suffering. For example, generosity is something so pure, so important, but if we do it with a mind that grasps at inherent existence, it will generate somehow conflict and suffering. Instead, because I give this to you, but I hope and I expect, I expect that you should attribute the same value that I am attributing to it. And when you don't, and I see that, I get upset. That's ignorance. On the other side, for example, the best method of purification of our karma is to meditate and to realize the lack of inherent existence of the 3 circles of action, which are the one that is doing the action, the one that received the action, and the actual action by itself. It's the same thing with generosity, the 3 circles. 3 circles are always the one that does, the one that receives, and the actual action. So in a negative action, the one that was lying, the one to whom was lied, and the actual lie, for example. Okay? So if we are able to meditate and realize the lack of inherent existence of the 3, this is the best way to purify the karma of that action. So again, realizing emptiness, it's a very, very, very powerful tool. And it's applied on everything. Okay? So, here with this we conclude for today. And this part of understanding that the pure form of generosity is the generosity which is free from the grasping at inherent existence. This is a pure form of generosity which do not bring negative side effects somehow to us. Anything that we do with the grasping of inherent existence inevitably, at some level, will bring a negative side effect. Okay? I think this is quite clear, actually. Okay? So, we will conclude here for today, because if we open one more question, then it is actually, we need to go through question 45, 46, and the answer is also quite long, and then we will not become too late. Then at least we finish once, at least on time. Okay? So let's do our dedication. Gyaltsen Lama kutse rapten chin namkar tinle cholchur gepadang Losang tempe drume sasum ki Drowe Michel tatu ne gyurchi Nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshin Nyensen takto delekpe Koncho sumke jingi lob Koncho sumke ngodrup tsol Koncho sumke trashi ashon. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the 3 jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Omahun Temba Lama Sangye Rinpoche, Kyoba Lama Tamche Rinpoche, Dremba Lama Gendu Rinpoche, Kyamne Kuncho Sumla Chepa Bu. Locho Sampo Pagyu Trashipa, Tuche Tempe Tinle Yarngoda, Pegye Drolo Zambe Zebrache, Panden Lame Shela Chepa Bu. Kanshi Dremba Tsamge Chinange, Parche Kunsele Shitin. Soze Gache Shugden Ringatse, Tensum Kordan Chela Chepa. kenam chöchen sowa tabe tu dasu kantu neber sachur tir nedan ulpon tapso shiwadan chedan trashi pelwar zedu.